Hello, viewers. Marianne from Revealing Light Tarot. I didn't intend to come on today, but there's just been so much unrest in the US, and it is spreading to other locations in the world. That's not been widely reported on, but there are growing protests across the world. Uh, Not to the extent that you have in the US, but certainly people coming out and expressing their outrage and their sense of absolute tragedy. Of course, on the murder, the alleged murder. I guess they haven't been to court, but the alleged murder of George Floyd. Um, I've looked at a lot of coverage today. I've looked at requests from viewers who are asking me to read on whether there are outside groups, perhaps fascist groups, fueling this, if Trump and even Russia are amplifying this. I want to look at that today to see if I can give some perspective. I also want to look at the overarching reason as to why, like Eric Garner, George Floyd has, whether his death will lead to change. The reading that I did a couple of days ago before the police person was charged indicated that that policeman would be charged. It also indicated that there were others that needed to be charged as well. Perhaps I think a group of three, although some people are telling me four officers, perhaps three plus the one that's already been charged, and that people would feel that this wasn't being done quickly enough. And I've also looked at the attorney for that attorney general, is it, for that state, um, not wanting to rush things and making sure that the charges, when charged, will stick. I can't bring myself to watch that video at all. And I'm certainly not going to attempt, when someone has just passed over so quickly, to bring that person through. What I will do is go to the living, and I will go to a beautiful black woman that can have the spot and speak for us all. Um, I posted this excerpt, this quote of hers on my Facebook page today. It is, of course, Michelle Obama, and I will be reading on Michelle. Thank you again for all your wonderful suggestions about inspirational people. I will do the living first because they're in the here and now, and they are managing and navigating and triumphing. They are triumphant over the same sorts of conditions that we find ourselves in today. Michelle Obama, no stranger to racism while she was in the White House when her husband Barack Obama was president. Um, I did actually work in a black advocacy organisation for about 5 years. They did some tremendous work with Aboriginal people across Australia. So I understand what it takes to move through racism. It is a continual self-examination. You've got to check yourself if you're white, because this is where that phrase white privilege comes from. And this is why I chose this quote from Michelle Obama today. Very good counsel and advice on racism coming from the first lady, black African American first lady, Michelle Obama. She says, racism. It starts. How do you move through it? How do you address it? How do you conquer it? It starts with self-examination and listening to those whose lives are different from our own. It ends with justice and compassion and empathy that manifests in our lives and on our streets. Let me just say that again. It starts. How do we conquer racism? It starts with self-examination and listening to those whose lives are different from your own. It ends with justice, compassion, and empathy that manifests in our lives and on our streets. Do you want to live with justice? Do you want to live with compassion? Do you want to live with empathy? Or do you want to live with fear, panic? I think you can apply that quote to anything in your life when you're dealing even with others, even within your family, who are not the same as you. It is around putting yourself in other people's shoes. And you walk a mile in them, and you get to understand them, and you get to develop compassion. So moving away from fear, panic, hatred, anger even, and putting yourself into that compassionate space is how we will move through self-examination, checking yourself all the time. All right, so I just want to pull an overall energy here to start with. I have to say, I'm sorry about that beam of light there. This is not my usual recording time. I'm not really set up for it. That is an overhead light and lampshade that's doing that. So I can't turn the light off or it'll be too dark. But I do have some other light up front, so you should be able to see the cards when I bring the laptop down. So understanding that, this, what has happened in the US to George Floyd, what has happened with the subsequent protests and outside forces. The governor of Minnesota said white fascist types, right-winged or right-winged people were flying into Minnesota to hijack these protests. There are a lot of nefarious forces really coalescing around this, and that is in itself a very sad, because you've got a leader who is stoking those flames of division. So some overall energy. What can we all learn? Why about George Floyd's alleged murder? I have to say alleged. I have no doubt about what I saw, but until those people are before the courts, I'm legally. I have to legally say alleged. So what do we? So, but yeah, before you attack me, I am responsible legally for the content here. So that's why I'm putting that word there in front of that until he's tried and found by a jury to be guilty. Then we can call him a murderer after that, but right now we have to call him an alleged murderer. So he's been charged, I think, with third-degree murder. And the family are saying it should have been first. Well, okay. Let's have a look. What do we need to know? And what I'm seeing, I am seeing Martin Luther King. I'm not going to bring him through in this reading, but he is framed within a heart. And so I am feeling that the overriding message here is love. And I think that was, something else Michelle Obama said, that, she's praying that we're strong enough for the journey, and that we care for one another. And I think that, of course, is what people are saying, care for one another. I've seen some wonderful photos of black people forming a barricade against to keep out protesters from hurting a lone policeman who had become separated from his squad. How beautiful. And then I see a line of white people linking arms to protect black people, to form a barricade so that the police can't hurt the black protesters. There are some beautiful, beautiful examples. Imagine if your leader or leaders focused on those, or had, because this isn't just an overnight thing. This is, really, your country is burning as a result, not just of 200 years ago, or what has happened in the history of your country, but it has been manifested very in a focused way during the Trump presidency, and this is the result of that. So it is an evolution. I think in the making, it is an evolution of your country. Your country is learning some hard lessons, and as a result, growing from that. Show me some overall energies, please. It is a road. It is a journey. That's what I'm seeing. Okay, so overall energies, please. Hmm. As a man thinketh, so is he. As a man chooses, so is he. That's from Ralph Waldo Emerson, one of your poets. It is the Two of Swords. It is the Crossroads card in the Art of Life deck. There are decisions for your country to make. There are decisions globally for us to make. These are very, very troubled times. So it is a fork in the road. As we think, so are we. As we choose, so are we. All right. The Nine of Swords is on at the base of the pack. The longer we dwell on our misfortunes, the greater is their power to harm us. That's from Voltaire. The Nine of Swords. So there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of anxiety. And as I was shuffling, I thought if only you had a leader who could bring forward those beautiful examples, hold those examples up in the light, and coming back to that initial view that I had of Martin Luther King, framed within the heart. Sometimes the heart will choose. The heart, the love, the experience, the emotional experience of our humanity. Sometimes the heart will choose the hard road in order to evolve. All right, so that is an overall spiritual message on such a tragedy, such a tragedy. Let's have a look at why this happened from a spiritual, again from a higher view, why this happened, and then we'll look at whether or not the right-winged forces and indeed other forces that are encouraging division and violence, regardless of whether they're right, left, or are these nefarious forces encouraging and actually making things worse. So let's have a look at why did George Floyd have to pass? Why did George Floyd have to pass? So I'm getting the draw to the weapons here. Put down your weapons. An Australian woman lost her life too. A policeman shot her, and he was a rookie cop. She was a beautiful soul. She was living in America with a partner. She was, I think, a yoga teacher, and she witnessed a woman being assaulted. It wasn't even her. She decided to help this woman, and she rang the 911. The police came, and when they pulled up, she was waiting outside in her pajamas for them to pull up so she could show them where this woman was being assaulted sexually or otherwise assaulted. She tapped the back of the car to say, "Here I am," because it was fairly dark. The policeman turned around without thinking and shot her dead. Put down your weapons. Put down your weapons. All right, why did... Okay. The Eight of Swords, there is that fear. There's so much underlying fear. I read something very profound about freedom to versus freedom from fear versus freedom to go and get my hair cut at a salon during a pandemic, freedom from the pandemic. So this is what this card expresses to me. The Knight of Pentacles. This is the Knight of Pentacles is an earth energy. It is the Knight is a slow-moving energy, and it is around money. So I feel that there is, when I opened up for this reading, I saw so many people not being able to drink from healing waters. Why aren't they able to drink from healing waters? Because of the disparity. the inequality between the very, very elite and those that don't have anything. It is a country so wealthy, supposedly a superpower, that does not even have universal health. Um, the Three of Cups, unity, coming together, supporting one another. Um, I have to say, I go back again. The reason we this is a learning thing for us all. Any tragedy is a learning journey for us, coming together, supporting one another. Um, but we are at the crossroads. This is juggling and making decisions. So I go back to that Two of Swords, that overall energy. At the moment, it is so chaotic because you are at a fork in the road, and here we have at the base of the pack the Two of Swords. So a lot of twos around unity, around unity. Which way as a country are you going to go? Now it takes leadership to move into that. It takes hard work. It's going to take hard work. You certainly aren't going to do that with someone like Trump at the helm. So the thing is to vote and get him out. I do want to point out that Justice John Roberts cast a deciding ballot. He went with the same way as the supposedly liberal-minded judges on whether governments could restrict church gatherings during a pandemic. The church movement lost that, and they lost it because Justice Roberts went in a 5-4 decision. And upheld the government's right to impose social distancing during a pandemic. I just wanted to point that out. That caught my eye today. All right, so let's have a look at who's stoking the flames of this division, this rioting, this burning, this destruction. Who is stoking these flames? Are nefarious forces, violent forces, those that would seek to destroy and leave the camp unguarded. These are people who are taking, and there's a lot of deceit around this because I'm seeing the Seven of Swords and somebody is touching my hair. There is deceit here. So, nefarious groups, be they fascist or otherwise, violent groups, stoking these flames, exacerbating these anxieties. All right, let's have a look here. Are these groups stoking these flames? Nefarious groups, show me this spirit. All right, let's do have a look here. Yeah, the Eight of Wands. This is a lot. People flying in, basically. I know that card is airborne, but it's like they're throwing everything. This is a very, very quick moving energy. When it's the best time to strike from their point of view, when things are reactionary, when there is this high level of emotion, it's when the government, the political divide can be widened. It is being somehow accelerated, exacerbated, I would say, through social media trolling by Russia itself. Please do not forget, do not lose sight of the light. Yes, it's a long journey, but there is hope here. One of my viewers, whom I was probably a troll, not one of my viewers, a troll, came on and said, why do you always bring forward that card? Why do you always, when things are so... Well, because if you have not a guiding light, if you shut the light out, then how are you going to see in the dark to get to where you want to go? That's why my readings are hopeful. Never lose hope. Never lose hope. And for that person that said that, don't bother watching my channel because this channel is not for you. The shadow side in the past. Yeah, wow. Lots of deceit here. lots of things that we can't see, lots of darkness coming forward very, very quickly, almost like an attack in the night. I asked about these groups. What's in the sky? The Five of Pentacles, loss. Look at this card. I'm using the Witch's Tarot. Capitalizing on the loss, but also attacking property, causing further financial hardship in a time of pandemic, in a time of recession, in a time of high unemployment. We will hear about this. Now, who are we going to hear it from? Because the Attorney General of the United States pointed the finger at left wing, very far left-wing forces, without mentioning the fascist alt-right winged groups. There's going to be hard evidence of that, those right-wing neo-Nazi fascist groups, the same sort of people, organised. This is highly organised attacks. There's going to be hard evidence coming forward. Thank God people are using their iPhones or their phones to record this. Right in the here and now, we have Trump, the president. So this is telling me we've pulled my card for Russia, my card for Trump. Now, Russia doesn't need to pay people on the ground. Perhaps Russia's role is amplifying this. Again, using that emotion, those high levels of emotion to attack, basically, to support and drive forward these neo-Nazi type groups. But we have the emperor here in the here and now. But we do have, and that's another, the emperor is control or lack of control. The environment around is the king of wands. So that's interesting. The emperor or control is being challenged by the king of wands. Who is the king of wands? The king of wands is a bold and courageous leader. So if your own president won't take control, someone else is. So look to those governors, look to those mayors, look to opposition parties, look to representatives. If you're not getting what you need from your president, look elsewhere. In the hopes and fears, we have the Nine of Pentacles, freedom. And again, freedom to move within the world unencumbered by racism and unencumbered by the violence of racism that we've seen brought forward with the passing of George Floyd. We have Trump right in the frame here, the King of Pentacles. They were funded. There's money right through this reading. The King of Pentacles, the lovers. Okay, so this is just showing me Trump, Trump, Trump. My three cards for Trump in all his personas have appeared in this reading. The Emperor card, his card for the presidency. He is being challenged by people. This is a way of also regaining some kind of footing for him. In the outcome position, it's Trump, the King of Pentacles, and the lovers, those that support him, are involved in this as well. And finally, I have the Six of Swords, moving out of troubled waters. So ultimately, that is my card of hope. These two cards keep coming forward for me time and time again. These are healing cards. So we're not there yet. There is a way to go. 6 months. Where will we be in 6 months? That's the Six of Swords. A healing is coming through after so much chaos. What's at the base of the pack? The Ace of Cups, high levels of emotion and new starts are being birthed. And as someone said to me, one of my teachers said to me the other day, this is a messy birth for the USA. We've got or rebirth, I should say. We've got the Queen of Wands, a movement is also being born as well. And here's our beautiful Ace of Swords, which was what I saw when I asked why George Floyd had died, had been allegedly murdered. And I saw the Ace of Swords to bring through the truth. So at the base of the pack, through great grief, through great loss, we've got this nefariousness being exposed. I don't know how much lower Donald Trump's popularity can go. His polls are sitting around 42%. Even in Fox polls, it's not good news for him. Will it go down to the 30s? Maybe that's a question for another reading. So, in summary, those protests are being fanned by nefarious forces, and I pulled 3 signifier cards for me, for Trump: 3, the Emperor, the King of Pentacles, and the Lover's card, Gemini. Any of you who watch my reading know that that's what those cards are. And I pulled the Empress, which is my card, signifier card for Russia. I'm not saying Russia's, here on the ground, but they are certainly amplifying this. And it's coming, and they're taking advantage of the speed. But all right, so I'm not going to make this a long video. It's Sunday night here. I need to get back to my family, but I did want to come on and do that reading for you. And I will leave with that thought that I had at the beginning, that the heart knows what it must do. The heart knows what it must learn. I'll leave it there. And rest in peace, George Floyd. Thank you for tuning in.